Squid Game is over, guys. And it ended up just being marginally better than Beast Games. That's a joke, of course. Sorry, Mr. Beast, I know you follow me now, so, Beast Game's #1, Lunchly for life, bro. But I was very curious to see how Squid Game would conclude its third and supposed final season, more on that later, after taking the world by storm back in 2021. But it's weird because, for the most part, it feels as if the final season hasn't even released because nobody is talking about it. It honestly feels like nobody has even watched it. Actually, I've watched it, so... Dude, just shut up, okay? Like, come on. But when compared to the first season and even the second, which already didn't get as much recognition as the first, most likely due to the first being such a lightning-in-a-bottle situation, coming out at a moment in history where people couldn't get enough free time. Whereas in comparison, there is relatively little discussion around what should be the biggest moment in Squid Game history, and unfortunately when I do see it here and there, it's rarely in a positive light, many claiming this season to have ruined the show and seriously failed to stick the landing, when compared to the unanimous praise given when the series first launched. Why is this? Were people just so spoiled from the masterpiece that was Beast Games? Well, I don't think so. There are a variety of reasons I believe folks were disappointed by the finale to Squid Game, from it very evidently being the second half of Season 2 instead of a whole new season altogether, the announcement of an American spin-off which is pretty much foreshadowed at the end of this finale, leaving people tired at the fact that this is yet again more proof that nothing is allowed to just end, to a lot of people simply thinking the finale was flat out bad, a poor conclusion to a season they already weren't enjoying, making the past 2 seasons feel entirely pointless. Made even more apparent when taken into account the creator had no intentions of making a Season 2 in the first place, before it subsequently became the biggest thing ever. I came out of Squid Game Season 3 with very conflicting opinions. In a lot of ways I understood and oftentimes appreciated the message the creator was trying to get across, and found it a fitting conclusion compared to something more cut and dry. I think there are people out there who go into a finale wanting a happy ending for all their favorite characters, and Squid Game gives you the exact opposite, and while not nearly sparking as much outrage as finales for The Sopranos or Lost. The Lost finale is great, by the way, I don't care what anyone says. But in other ways, I think this outcome might be worse for Squid Game than if it was some monumental moment in the history of TV blunders. A finale so bad that it's talked about and discussed until the end of time. Instead, it seems like most had the reaction of, oh, that was it? Well, that sucked anyways. And I think that's because I feel like anyone who didn't like the finale to Squid Game already wasn't enjoying what they had been seeing throughout the season so far. But I'm curious if anyone out there thinks otherwise, let me know. Also, hi, I know I don't make videos on live action shows like this very often, but hey, subscribe, why not? You're already here. Working on a video about the Orville, look forward to it, it's fucking boring. Now, I want to give a very brief rundown on Season 2 and 3 of Squid Game. Don't worry, this won't go on very long, I just want to make sure everyone is on the same page with this. I know there are some crazy people out there who watch video essays about shows they haven't even seen. I don't judge, I do it too. But this is more so for the purpose of being able to expand upon these plot points further, because everything I want to talk about kind of leads to the overall feeling that everything in these past 2 seasons was completely pointless, and the exact same message they spent so much time reveling on this time around was something already made clear as day in the first season. So if you've been living under a rock-like surface for the past 5 years and for some reason have never heard of Squid Game before, the basic setup is that in South Korea there's this secret competition where 456 contestants are put through a series of challenges in order to win the ultimate grand prize of 45.6 billion won. Only caveat is losing the game results in your untimely and oftentimes extremely brutal death. Each contestant's life is worth 100 million won, so every time someone dies, it gets added to the prize pool, simple. During all this, the games are being watched over by a group of VIPs, insanely loaded masked billionaires who watch over and bet on who they think will win Squid Game. Also, despite speaking English, they all talk like they belong in a bad anime dub.
Seriously? I find it hard to believe the host would miss a night like tonight.
Over the course of the first season, we follow our main character as he joins Squid Game to help his sick mother, in which he makes friends, enemies, and watches them all eventually die as he comes out the Squid Game victor. The season ending with him deciding that he has to come back and take Squid Game down. Season 2 has an incredibly slow start, with the games not even beginning until episode 3. Our main character from the first season has decided that he's going to willingly put himself back in the games in order to put a stop to all this, before realizing this is going to be a lot harder to do than he initially thought. So in between every round, the players are given a choice: leave now and split whatever earnings you've made so far, or keep going. They all have a vote, but in the end, majority rules. And so 456 learns that, despite his best efforts,
Stop! I've played these games before!
The majority consistently wants to continue playing, and that's because they're so desperate for the money, them usually being in such large amounts of debt, that they see it as if they're dead either way. It's either risk your life for a 1 in 456 chance of financial freedom, or leave and once again have to answer to the debt collectors. And so we see time and time again people choose to continue playing the games, much to the dismay of our protagonist. Season 2 ends with him enacting this plan to escape and take out the leader, which obviously fails and results in the death of many contestants. And so the third season is mostly spent, for the first half at least, showcasing his guilt over this. Guilt plays a large role in this season, whether it be our protagonist feeling guilty for all the people who died, placing that guilt onto another contestant who failed to get them more ammo, potentially saving some of those people, as well as this old lady who eventually has to make the tough choice to kill her own son, which results in her taking her own life. Spoilers, by the way. The season immediately takes a turn upon the birth of contestant 222's baby. She's been pregnant this entire time, and also spoilers, she dies too. And so now 456 takes it upon himself to protect this baby and ensure it gets out of here, much to the dismay of the other contestants who think it's unfair the baby gets to now take its mother's role in the games. Yeah, the baby is now 222, it's as stupid as it sounds. Anyways, I'm obviously leaving out a lot of the emotion that comes with this, but everything builds up to the finale where we're left with 456, the baby, and the baby's father. One of them has to die, with the father being more than willing to throw their own child off the tower they're standing on. However, with his death, 456 is now left with the ultimate decision: kill the baby who never asked for any part of this, or himself. With this, he faces the VIPs, leaving them with the line, "We are not horses, we are human," and throws himself off the tower, killing him and resulting in the winner of Squid Game being a baby. It's the ultimate version of Luigi wins by doing absolutely nothing. I'm leaving out a lot here, including 2 B stories, one involving a girl who joins Squid Game as a guard and wants to rescue one of the contestants after recognizing him as the father of a girl she's aware of, as well as a detective who is searching for Squid Game Island after his brother went missing after participating in the games. I don't want to focus on either of them for too long, wish I could say the show did the same, but basically it's this big, multi-hour-long scavenger hunt, searching for the island. Also, the detective can witness the reveal at the end that his brother was the leader of Squid Game the whole time, which is a reveal that the audience was already aware of this entire time. And so it all feels pointless, especially since by the time the detective realizes this, his brother escapes, and so nothing was accomplished. Why? In the end, Squid Game Island is blown up, but we learn that the games will continue elsewhere. LA for some reason, that sounds horrible. Now, the message they are trying to get across here is clear as day. There is no stopping Squid Game, and it's not because of the leader or the VIPs or Netflix greed. There is no stopping Squid Game because there will always be desperate people willing to risk their lives for money. In the end, the leader is only proven right. Again, the contestants had the ability to leave Squid Game the entire time, but their greed and desperation was too overpowering. It blocked out all rational and humane thought. This is taken to the absolute extreme through the fact that these people were more than willing to kill a literal baby, because it guaranteed them an extra couple million each. I think this all works great at showcasing that idea, that social commentary. I think the horse line is excellent, especially since 456 started the entire show by trying to earn money betting on horses. The argument can be made, what's the difference in you betting on horses and the VIPs betting on you? We are not horses, we are human. It's all great, I like it a lot. On its own, as the finale to Squid Game, I find it to be incredibly redundant and extremely underwhelming, mostly because none of this is news to the audience. We did not need 3 seasons to reach this conclusion, because any message you could have got from this finale is something that was already made clear as day by the end of Squid Game Season 1. That's kind of the issue when you're forced to make a 2nd and 3rd season for a show that already said all it wanted to by the end of the 1st. You could take the show in a drastically different direction, and at first that's exactly what you think they're gonna do with 456 returning to take Squid Game down from the inside, but no. He feels at the end of Season 2 and spends the first half of Season 3 sulking about it and finding someone to blame, before eventually reaching the conclusion that, no, everyone here chose to be here. Why help people who refuse to help themselves? Again, we did not need 3 seasons to learn this, though. We already knew this. It's such a confusing structure to wrap your head around, especially for the final season. After 456 fails to do pretty much anything, all we're really doing for the following episodes is watching Squid Game play out like normal. There's this feeling of wanting your cake and eating it too, like they weren't sure how much they wanted to deviate from what people liked so much about Season 1, that we're watching this scripted and insanely high-stakes version of a reality game show. I know people find the baby stupid, especially since it looks like the Death Stranding baby the entire time, but I actually find the baby to be an incredibly smart plot plot device to reinvigorate our protagonist. 456 is all but given up. He's lost hope in humanity, and even become so overrun with vengeance that he actively seeks out and murders the man who he blames for the death of the other contestants. This is a character who, even until the very end, only uses murder as an absolute last resort. Even when a knife is dropped in his lap and he's instructed to kill every last contestant in their sleep, guaranteeing the freedom of him and the baby, he can't bring himself to do it because he knows that's not the sort of person he is or wants to be. Yet here he is, choking a man to death out of pure anger. The baby is meant to represent hope for 456. His hope in humanity, the innocence of a child. And we watch as that hope is threatened by the other contestants who don't give a second thought to murdering a baby. It's only here that 456 learns his attempts at breaking the cycle are futile, that these are people not worth saving. And this was all on purpose by the leader. When discussions start erupting between the VIPs about whether or not they should kill the baby now that its mother is gone and it's served its purpose, it's the leader who chooses to let it become a permanent contestant and take the place of its mother, not only because he knows it ups the stakes and results in a more entertaining game, but also because it's a test. He wants to see if 456 will continue to put his own life at risk in order to protect it. He even tries to do the opposite, giving 456 a knife and giving him an eye, kill everyone in their sleep and leave. We learn that this is exactly what the leader was proposed with when he was in Squid Game all those years back, and he made the choice to kill all those people. He wants to see if 456 will stoop down to the level he did in order to win, but he doesn't. In the end, it doesn't matter what the others choose to do, because he knows that he can still do what's right, and so he sacrifices himself to keep that hope alive. It's just too bad that this is just an extreme way of getting across a message that the audience had already learned. I think that's why some find the baby to be a bit of a stupid plot device, even if I think it was used to good enough effect. The message you get from watching this all play out over the course of those last 6 hours is the exact same message you get from watching the 5-minute scene from the start of Season 2, where the recruiter gives homeless people the choice of either bread or a lottery ticket, in which we consistently see them choose the lottery ticket, putting the tiniest prospect of fortune above the well-being of themselves and, naturally, others. There are exceptions, of course, like the old lady who's willing to let herself die for the sake of her son, the transgender character who dies after coming back for her friends even though she had already found the exit, and could have easily moved on to the next game, or the pregnant lady who also sacrifices herself for the well-being of her daughter, refusing to let 456 come back and attempt to save her. But despite these exceptions, there are many, many more examples of characters who only prove people like the VIPs right, people who are more than willing to lie and murder their way to fortune. It just doesn't exactly do much to justify the existence of these past 2 seasons, however, because these exact character archetypes were already present in Season 1, and so nothing all that new is really being said. I cannot stress it enough, but they spend so long teaching the audience a lesson that they already knew. These episodes are so long and have such a slow pace that you find yourself watching like, okay, there's no way this is all just building up to the same message as Season 1, right? That sounds like a massive waste of time. But no, that's exactly what happens. As long as there are desperate people, there will always be those who are better off ready to exploit them. 13 hours worth of show for that. A message we already got by watching the first season. And so, in the end, no matter what happened with Squid Game Season 2 and 3, no matter what epic, brutal games there were, no matter what characters you grew attached to and cried when they were killed, no matter what, it all just ends up feeling redundant. I feel like the reason folks aren't as upset as they usually are with other finales that are considered bad is because Squid Game was never designed to go on for as long as it did. With shows like The Sopranos or Game of Thrones or Dexter, shows that were beloved before airing their underwhelming finales, I think it stung more because people had been following along with these characters for years, seasons upon seasons exploring every different facet of their large cast of characters, learning everything there is to know about them and seeing how that informs their actions. Who lives? Who dies? Who gets a happy ending? It's all up in the air, and that's where the excitement from watching a finale comes from. Whereas Squid Game never intended on being a show like that. Squid Game from the start was a simple premise designed to tell a clear message, and because of that, all the characters present are only there to reinforce that message. It's a show that is trying to say something about our way of life, about the human condition. And unfortunately, that means there was no hope of getting that satisfying happy ending without contradicting that message in some way. And so because of that, the ending to Squid Game makes complete narrative sense. I think they just got so caught up in making you feel like things would end up differently. They make you buy into 456's hope, and so unfortunately, pulling back to the same message that there was no possibility of him stopping Squid Game just ends up making everything feel futile. Almost as futile as watching Squid Game Season 3. But